Hey guys, what's going on? Andy Elliott. Today I'm here with my boy Kevin Reardon. By the way, guys, super important. If you don't know who he is, he's amazing. His story is super cool. I'm gonna have him share it with you. Number one, super inspiring. Shows you how you never know what's next. Nobody can put labels on you, tell you who you are. It's never finished. It's never over. There's always another chapter. We were just talking about how recreation just keeps happening again and again and again, especially when you don't give up and you keep pursuing that best version of yourself. He's going to talk about a couple risks that he took that changed his whole life. And anyways, if you guys are looking to be inspired, I want you guys, go to Instagram, follow Kevin Reardon. You'll see it on the screen right now. He ain't selling you nothing. There ain't nothing to buy. I just think if you're looking for somebody in your life, this guy's coming up. He's under the radars. He's coming up. You guys will see over the next year or two. He's going to blow up. He does have a coaching program. He helps a lot of people. We're not here to talk about that today. I just want, if you want to change your life, you want to find somebody to inspire, go follow Kevin right now on Instagram and on Facebook. Is that right?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We have some longer form stuff there.
Or YouTube. Yeah, I love going to YouTube, man, because that actually gives me an opportunity to learn a little bit more.
That's where I go to learn.
Yep. Yeah, learn more, and then catch the short clips on the other channels. I love you guys. Number one, Kevin, grateful that you're here.
Thank you.
Kevin's got a pretty cool story. By the way, Kevin lives in Scottsdale, Arizona. He didn't always live here. He actually moved here. I always tell people, if you really want to change your life, one of the craziest things you can do is just uproot and move and go across the country.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. And Kevin, you tell us where you want to start, and let's rip.
Well, yeah. Look, first of all, super appreciative. Thank you for kind words. It's I love coming on here and just talking about how you can recreate, how we can be better. We can be better humans, be better people to ourselves, to our loved ones, to our friends, to our employees, and I've recreated multiple times in my life, and you're just saying the last year I moved out here to Scottsdale, Arizona, to recreate again and be in total proximity to you, to your team, to all the other entrepreneurs out here in Scottsdale, and to get myself to a new level, right? And so I've done that a few different times. And, I'm like anyone. Like, I'm not that smart. I came from a middle-class family. I didn't know rich people. I didn't really know business or anything like that growing up. And so I kind of I knew I've always had this feeling inside of me, like, I want to get for more. I just always wanted to reach for more. But sometimes you just don't know where to start and you don't know what to do. So when I was, coming out of high school and going into undergrad, I saw all the rich people worked on Wall Street. And so I knew one day I got to make it to Wall Street. And so I worked my butt off in undergrad. I almost failed. I almost wasn't allowed to graduate high school. I remember 1 week before graduation, senior year of high school, my mom got a letter, said, hey, just got to let you know your son, if he doesn't score high enough on his final exam, he's not gonna pass his senior year of high school. He's got to redo his senior year. And man, that pissed me off. That really pissed me off. I see my mom was all upset. I have like super strong ADHD, which I know you do too, right? I think a lot of us have that, and man, it can be a bitch.
I don't know what they call it, but we're crazy.
We're just crazy people, and we just think differently.
Yeah.
But they always said, as I was never diagnosed with ADHD. I just knew that my mind worked different. I actually wasn't diagnosed until just the last year. But I always knew that my mind worked different, and I could see things that other people couldn't see. But also, I have this thing called hyperfocus, right? Where I can fixate on something, I can see it visually in my head, and I can create a solution.
You get extreme, yeah.
Yeah. I get super extreme when I'm fixated on something, but also to the detriment where you kind of go tunnel vision, and everything else around you becomes completely blank, right? And so I've had that my whole life. And so, as when you're growing up through the system in school, right, you're doing the structured, what you're told. Well, it doesn't work. That doesn't work good for people like you and me.
Yeah.
And so I almost didn't graduate, right? And I like telling that because I'm no different than a lot of guys out there, and just trying to find their way and trying to figure out their next step and how they can grow and harness their superpowers. And ADHD has been like a superpower for me. I just didn't know it. I just didn't know it.
Well, it probably helped out really well because you went to Wall Street, right?
Yeah. So I ended up passing high school and going to undergrad, and I knew I needed a change. So I figured out how to hyper focus. Was what I did in undergrad then is I said, okay, like I have this focus problem. So I'm going to go to the back corner of the library. I'm going to put on earplugs, headphones, no electronics, and I'm going to study. And I'm not that smart, but I'm going to try really freaking hard. And I did that, and it got me great grades in undergrad. And then I graduated undergrad, and I couldn't get into law school because they wouldn't accept me, and I wanted to go to one of the best law schools in the world. And so I went and worked at a car wash for $6 an hour for 2 years.
Crazy,
and
right?
I lived on a mattress in my brother's basement for 2 years. And I saved tips for those 2 years. I saved all my money, and I studied. I took the test to get into law school. The first time, score wasn't good enough. I applied to law school. Nah, sorry. Took the test. I've never told anyone this in public. I took that test, the LSAT, to get into law school. I took it a second time after studying for another year to get into law school, and I applied to law school a second time. So now I'm 2 years in, 3 years into studying. I get rejected a second time. So then I take the test a third time. I spend another year studying, and I apply to the same law school a third time. At this point, they're sick of hearing from me. They let me in. They let me into law school. I didn't have the best law school scores. I didn't have the best LSAT scores, but I was persistent, and I knew what I wanted, and I knew that the only rich people that I knew did real estate, and they worked on Wall Street, and that's all I knew. And that's the only vision I had in my head. So that's what was my North Star, and I was just fixated on how do I get there. And it took several years. So I go to University of Pennsylvania, one of the best law schools in the country, and I ended up going work for one of the top finance law firms in the world. It's actually the firm where the Obamas met. And I spent almost 3 years there. And here's the crazy thing, is I just told you all that time, all that effort that I did to get to that point. And I looked at myself, I looked at people around me, I said, man, one, I hate me. Two, the people ahead of me, their lives are not that attractive. Because you realize that money isn't what it's necessarily cracked up to be. Realize that there's more to life than just how much money can you bill to clients and how much money can you make per hour.
Yep.
At some point, you have this deep realization that you're made for more.
I love what you said. You said you didn't want to be the people that were ahead of you.
That's huge.
Yeah, so I want everybody to think about that for a second, because a lot of people are working in a company right now, and just ask yourself, like obviously the goal is to do great, but look at the people ahead of you, right? And just ask yourself, do I want their life? Do I want how they treat their family? Do I want the life that they live? Do I want the way that they look, right?
Yeah.
I was asking somebody the other day, I said, hey, if your year to date was based off the way that you took care of your physical appearance, how much would you earn?
Yeah.
If your year to date was based off the way that you took care of your wife, how much would your year to date be? Would you be broke or would you be rich? If your year to date was based off the kind of parent you were, right? Your relationship with God. It's just like there's so many other things that are outside the realm of business that create a rich life. And a lot of people, you don't need money to be rich. All right? Like money is good, but you don't need money to be rich. And by the way, although money is good, I will tell everybody we're all going to need money. There's more than that. And so you recognize that. That's good. That's a big key point right there. That's huge. That's big advice. Do I want to be where the people are that are ahead of me? Do I want their life?
Do you want their life? And look, we see it out here when now in the world that I'm in now, in the world that you're in, Andy, like you see people on social media. It's all fake. And you see people's lives from the outside, but you don't really get to know them. You don't really know where their heart is, how their relationships are, what they're like at home. And look, it's easy now to get caught up in seeing what other people do and what they're posting, etc. So if I had to give one piece of advice from what I've learned is try to stay away from the comparison game. It really holds you back, and it keeps you from becoming the person that you were meant to become.
Yeah, it's
and
poison.
It's easy. It's easy to do, and it's poison. So I've I used to scroll social media a ton. I realized it's poison for my brain.
Yeah.
And so now I only pick up my phone on dedicated times of the day and look at social media because I realize how poison it is.
Yeah, so social media could be good to inspire you. It could be good to get some education from. But also, if anything, is not controlled.
That's right.
It could just become.
It's about control.
It could just become a piece of junk going in your brain.
Yeah, I mean, social media used as a tool is one thing, and is something that can, like you said, help you set a vision, get education, learn a skill.
Yeah, be aware.
That's huge.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as you cross that barrier into you're just consuming other people's lives, it doesn't make you feel good about yourself.
Yeah, because when you're chasing your dream and then you see somebody, they're on a yacht, they're in Fiji, there's all these girls running around and all those, you're like, I'm a loser.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, it just, instead of inspiring you, it just makes you feel like, gosh, man, I'm never going to get it. And that guy's, 10 years younger than me.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm wasting my time.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you're not. Like, dude, like if you're watching something and it inspires you, that's why you got to go through. And I don't know why, but social media does this. I find that I'm following people that I didn't follow. Like, I'm like, dude, why is my social media showing me this?
Yeah.
And it's like, it says you're following. I'm like, dude, I'm not following that person. And I'll unfollow them. And I don't know how it happens.
Yeah.
But like, people end up in my feed. You know what I mean?
Well, social media several years ago used to be, you would see the things that the people that you follow, your timeline, your feed would be the people that you follow.
Yeah.
Now, with TikTok and everything, they've changed the algorithms, and now you get a little bit of who you follow, but you also get the explore, the for you, which just, it's like the algorithms are so good, it knows exactly what you're going to get sucked into, and it feeds you more of it, even if you don't follow.
Oh, yeah, they got the stuff dialed.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with like, they can hear what you like. I'll be like, babe, do we need to get a new roof on one of our houses? So I pick up my phone, it's like, show me roofs.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm like, damn, they're
listening. Dude, they're on it. But I love that. Okay, so
we'll do the weave back, right? So I've learned this as I've gone. So then I made it to Wall Street. I realized it wasn't what I wanted, and so I had to recreate a second time. And so then I went back. I started from zero. I built a hotel company. I did it the hard way. I didn't have mentors. I didn't know anyone else that was doing it. So I went and bought some old motels, and totally recreated these motels and built an awesome business. One of which we sold in the last year and made a few $1 million. So that was a huge step in my life, and becoming an entrepreneur and going through the grind of the build from zero to having a multi-million-dollar business, right? Bless you.
Man, I'm allergic to that old hotel.
Yeah, shit.
I'm just kidding.
It's the old motels, the old dusty motels. So yeah.
But I want to ask you a question. So, again, you said you didn't have a mentor, right? Whenever you bought these motels, you turned it around, you made them profitable, and you even sold them, so you exited a company.
Yeah.
What would you say that everybody needs a mentor?
Well, this is the crazy thing is I didn't know. Again, I didn't grow up knowing like how to get help, how to hire a coach, how to have a mentor. I didn't know those words, right? I knew teachers, I knew professors, right? I grew up in that world. I didn't know that there's these guys out there that will show you how to actually do what you want to do, because they've done it before and they've maybe done it with other people too. And so, I spent years building that company, and I'm super proud of it. And we have a great team, we have a great brand, we continue to operate, and I'm super proud of it. But then talking about wanting to get it all and wanting to have a well-rounded life. So I went from like realizing money's not everything, build a company, end up with money, realize my health isn't where I want it to be, my relationships aren't where I want them to be. So I sacrificed. So maybe I went one way and then I diverted the other way, and I still didn't have it all.
Yeah.
Right. And so I realized that if you have coaches and mentors, they can show you the fastest path to get to where you want to go, and help make you aware of the obstacles that you're going to confront, and give you some advice and tools and tactics to get over them, right? And at least make you feel like you have someone on your side. And it's huge. And now I'm aware of that, and now I know that having access to communities, I'm a part of several communities for different areas that I want to work on, right? Whether it's business or spiritual stuff or whatever it may be. Like, I'm a part of these communities to learn and to be better in these different areas of my life. And so once I got through exiting hotels, I realized, I've really learned a lot. And I had a third recreation of myself where just this past year, you and I have been working together and your team. And we've gone to a whole new level, right, of awareness and of bringing all the elements. We think about relationships, your financials, your spirituality, right, and how you can bring all those things together. And now I'm starting to see it, right? Now I'm starting to really feel like all those areas are working together, but it's taken multiple recreations over a decade of figuring out how to do that.
I think God has to take you through certain things for you to see them, to feel them, to understand them, so that you can rise.
Well, that's huge. I mean, we've realized well, let me ask you, Andy, like when you first started out recreating, you were 39 years old, and you realize, you hear people saying, man, it all starts with your beliefs. And that, I heard that from some of the many of the guys that you've had around here the last year, great entrepreneurs that I've gotten to meet and hear from, and everyone says it starts with your beliefs. You got to change your beliefs. What are your limiting beliefs? Like, back in the beginning for you, like when did you break through and like realize, like, man, it's this belief thing, and like understand it? Because I've heard it, but I didn't really understand it.
Yeah. So, number one, we are the only person stopping us, and the reason why we're stopping us, and the reason why self-development is so important, is because our mind isn't our friend. It's not your friend.
Yeah.
It's not very good to you. It doesn't build you up to make you feel like you can take over the world. It tells you the exact opposite. It tries to give you every reason why you need to play safe, why you shouldn't take that risk, why you should stay exactly where you are, and why maybe you're not like those people that are doing those things, and so maybe it might not be a good idea.
Yeah.
And that was the death of me for 39 years.
Yeah.
And it killed out, my mind killed out so much ambitiousness and so much like confidence to go do something different. Now, if it was what I was already doing for 20 years, like it would be okay. But I wanted to change many times. But I just thought, like, I'm me.
Yeah.
I knew all the things I'd done wrong in my life. My mind knows everything I've done wrong. It's been with me for 24 hours a day for 39 years at that point. And so it knew how ashamed I was of all my mistakes. It knew the times I'd betrayed people, the times that I lied to myself. I mean, it knew everything. And so at any given time, it's really weaponized to just shut me down very fast.
And they say, like, the research shows after 7 years, 90% of your mind is already formed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so you have this realization, I'm sure you did, at some point where you're like, damn, like 90% of my mind was formed when I was little because of the experiences that I had from my parents and the environment that was around me. And I know your childhood was chaotic, right? And so you realize your body and mind has adapted all of these behaviors that made you who you are now.
Yeah, which is why, like, again, when you want to change, you have to be extreme.
Right.
It's a very extreme thing. Greatness is found in the extremes. You have to brainwash yourself that you're someone else, and you have to live in the presence in that brainwash. And the past has to end. And so what I did is I killed off the old me. I killed off my old past. And, you're saying, like, when you recreate, like, what's the limiting beliefs, the ceilings, and all that? Honestly, I just ripped that guy to shreds.
Yeah.
And that guy died. And then I wasn't thinking anything except for the new information that I was taking in that made me feel different. It made me believe different. It made me think different. And then I started making different decisions. And then since I made different decisions, my actions were different. My life changed.
Yeah.
And I ran this play every day.
Well, that's huge.
Over and over again.
And you realize that, like, okay, number one, you have the drive, you have the desire to change. You feel something like deep down your gut that, like, you're tired of your own self. So that's number one. Number two, then you're like, okay, I understand I've got these beliefs, I've got to change. So I'm like, what are the things that I can do to change? And so those are the things that I'm been super interested in and studying of like I want to change. If I want to have it all in all these different areas, what are the things? How do I become that? How do I rewire my brain? Because like you said, it's your brain is already formed. Especially I think when you're 30s, it's like 95% formed. So the older that you get, the harder it is. And so, I'm in my mid 30s. You were 39 when you had this epiphany to want to redevelop. So I'm like, what are the things that you can do? Well, you talk about like ripping yourself apart. So I think it's a great message that like one, fitness is a great place to start. Fitness and health.
It can really change your identity.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah. And there's so much to that. But just getting active, getting a better diet. I mean, we were talking about ADD earlier.
Yeah.
Like I've realized that that what we eat, I know you eat super clean, I eat super clean now. What you eat really affects all the chemicals that are in our food.
Yes.
Really affect how your brain works, especially when you're an entrepreneur, you're ADHD, like you have trouble focusing, your energy levels are maybe low. So what you eat, like starting with the basics like that, I think is like huge. And I've always dabbled, but I never got it to stick for a lot of years. I never got it to stick.
Yeah, consistency is key. Always think, if I do this thing long range, right? Like not short range, but like long range, like what will I look like next year? Well, I mean, like, okay, I know what you want 90 days.
Yeah.
But like, dude, like what if you don't quit?
Yeah, what if you keep going for a year?
I mean, think about you. You've had a great last year, but also you've had a grind this last year. You didn't quit.
Well, also because I realized that I had some of these deep-rooted beliefs, right? This stuff that was programmed into you when you were little. And like you said, that is deep. And to rip that out, you don't realize that that's in there until you have to actually confront it. And so after, 6 months of doing deep self-work, it's like you start confronting some of this stuff and you're like, man, there's some demons in there. And the trick is that you're going to go through the up and down, but you have to keep going. You can't stop. Yeah. And that's what it's supposed to be hard. You're supposed to confront the hard things within you. It's going to create friction.
Well, see, and the deal is that what you're saying right now is that you're actually now spending time alone with yourself.
Oh, I came up to you in an event.
Yeah,
I came up to you in an event 2 months ago. We were together. You and I were at a cocktail party. I came up to you 2 months ago, and I said, I've realized the number one thing that has really helped propel my self-development forward is not adding things, not saying, oh, I got to do this. Oh, look at this guy does this. This guy does, look at this tactic. It's getting really freaking quiet and subtracting. Like we have, as human beings, are conditioned to make ourselves really busy and to do a lot of stuff. And
Facts.
I realized my parents were like this, and I became like this. Like, you become programmed to just do stuff, like do all this stuff, and then once you if you can eliminate all of it and get super quiet and really just have to think and sit with yourself, then you start to say, wow, like that's when you start seeing the things that are much deeper inside of you. So I think subtraction before addition is sometimes the most powerful tool. And that goes for business too. Sometimes in business we do too much, and we just need to remove things and not add complexity.
Yeah, you got to go through a season of saying no, because that's the only way to grow. So this is in business. Great stuff you've given, how to grow, how to change, how to have the right mindset, all things that are super important. You're in a relationship. Okay. What are give me 2 or 3 things you learned in the last year for real that has helped you be a businessman and be in a better relationship? And by the way, I know your girl.
Yep.
She's amazing. She's going to watch this.
She's a killer.
Yep, she's going to watch this. She's great. What are some things that you learned to be a better man, to have a better home life so you can grow?
Well, number one, I think that both people need to grow together. I think that it is, you can go much faster and you can go a lot deeper when both people are aligned. You have an aligned vision of, okay, here's what we want. You set the vision. Like, here's what we want in our lives. You know, here's what we want to be able to accomplish. Where we want to go. Whatever it is, our finances. Here's the things that stresses us out. Like my girl and I, like we were conditioned to always stress about money. So like we were like, okay, we need to be super financially secure. We never want to even have to think about money because we both were growing up just always in a fearful state about money, right? And so just like thinking of like, what are these things that I don't want in my life, and then what do I do want in our lives?
Huge.
So just sharing that vision and being able to go on the journey together. Like I was the one that said I want to move out here to Scottsdale, and my girl thought was crazy. You know, Julie thought it was, but she believed enough where she was like, okay, all right, I'll do it. We'll go. And getting out of our environment so we came out here from the East Coast, and I talk about subtracting things. Well, one of the things is your environment. Your environment is super powerful. And so getting into a new environment so that we could grow together is massive.
It's huge.
And so we've been growing together without all of the distractions and all of the old things that we used to be in, right? So number one is like changing that environment, having an aligned vision, doing all that stuff. Now, after that, then you start going down this path, right, of developing together. Your significant other can be your absolute superpower in getting to where you want to go.
Yep.
But you have to be super freaking honest with each other and not take offense to it.
It's super hard.
Super honest and super hard. Because sometimes she'll say something to me and I want to give it back to her. And I realize that like you're conditioned to have a response to these emotions, again, from like how you were programmed growing up. And you don't even realize that you respond to things in certain ways until someone else, like your significant other, calls you out on some kind of, you know, crap that you're doing. And
when's the last time your girls called you out?
Earlier today.
What was it?
Well, she knows that.
Just give us a lesson here.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you. I'll just be real and like talk about today. We had an honest conversation. You know, she came into my office, and I'm recording a whole bunch of videos for my coaching community, and we're recording some new courses, and I wanted to have that launch this week. And so she knows that my goal is to launch that this week for our community. And sometimes if I'm feeling like, you know, I'm anxious, I don't know what to do, I'll go for a walk. I'll go grab a coffee. And it's a little behavior. So she comes in and she said, "Oh, you want to go grab a coffee? Oh, I thought you were going to get those videos done. I thought you were going to build your community more. I thought you were going to pour into those people this morning." And I'm like, no, babe. Like, you come up with things like, no, I had to do this. Like, I just got to clear my mind for 20 minutes. Just a little example, but it's like, she know that if sometimes when I have to go take 20 minutes break to get a coffee, that I'm just coping with not pushing through some kind of resistance. And I hate that because she called me out for it.
That's good. You're lucky. You're lucky
Right.
to have her by your side.
And
you won't always like that. That's a good coach.
Well, and that's why your significant other can be your superpower, because they'll call you if they're going to be truthful with you and say, no, this is the vision, Andy, that we wanted to have for our business and our life. And what you just did or what you're about to do
doesn't align.
It doesn't align. And I know you think you have a reason to why you want to do it, but that's because it was your old self telling you to do that. Yeah. It's an old behavior. See, what I've realized and what's unlocked a lot for me in being able to rapidly change the beliefs and the behaviors is that just understanding that all those beliefs just trigger an emotion and a thought, which triggers an action. And if you can just identify what is the action and just do something different, right? So we talked about the programming of what you do every day. And so if you can change the action that you take when you have a thought and you have a feeling, you're beginning to become a new person because you're taking new actions towards a new direction.
Facts.
Right? And I didn't understand that because I thought that I liked my routine of what I was doing. But if I'm trying to become the person that I'm trying to become and have the relationship with Julia that we're trying to have, then I got to change my behaviors. And it might be little micro behaviors of like, I'm gonna go for a walk to get a coffee or whatever it might be. Just changing those behaviors, and when you make those changes, all of a sudden, it creates new realities, right? You have new results. You change your behavior, you change your actions, you have new results.
Yeah, you force yourself.
I mean, Brad Lee was talking about that. Your buddy Brad, when he was here several months ago, and he was talking about how your beliefs become your thoughts become your actions become your results then reinforce your beliefs.
That's it.
It's a vicious cycle. And so, like, I really believe that, like, half of self-development and getting to where you want to be and breaking through your barrier is just understanding how you break the cycle.
It's huge, buddy. What is a thing or two, if somebody's watching this, what is a thing or two that you would say were mistakes you made that you recommend people to watch out? These are landmines. Just one or two things that if you could go back and change time.
Well, first of all, number one, not getting a coach, not getting a mentor, thinking that, I'm, having...
Not hiring someone to push you.
Not hiring someone to push you, and if you don't have a significant other, it's fine, you can get someone to help push you, right? But not... See, I think it's an ego thing, right? It's an ego thing because in deep down inside, like, I'm like, no, I've operated my whole childhood. I've operated where, like, I've done Kevin's way. I've done Andy's way.
Yeah.
And I'm going to figure it out because I always figure it out.
Yeah.
But man, when you want to play at the higher levels and you want to do big stuff, like, you have to realize that you have to shed the ego. It's not about you. And there's other people that can help you. There's other people that want to help you. I want to help people. I want to pay forward because that gives me satisfaction. That gives me fulfillment. So people want to do that, but you have to be willing to seek it out. And the corollary, the number two with that, is when someone gives you advice, you have a choice. You can consume the advice and do nothing, or you can take action.
That's huge.
And I think that one of my weak spots is I'm really good, like, analytically. I'm really good getting advice. I'm really good getting skills. I'm not really good sometimes taking action on that.
The implementing side.
And so once you can harness, like, how to take the advice, find the who, get what you need, and then put it into practice, like, that's massive. But I know you see so many people that they come and get coaching, they get advice, they get accountability, but they don't take action on it.
Yeah.
Or they do it for a week or two because you get a dopamine hit, right? When you go to an event or you find a new skill, you get a hit for a week, 2 weeks. But it doesn't stick, and you don't keep going. You don't see it all the way through.
That's right.
And dude, I'm super ADHD, right? So, like, I realize that one of my weaknesses is, like, I'll get the information, but then a week later I'll get another piece of information, and all of a sudden I want to do something else. Like, how many times you've been to, like, Jackie, like, hey, I want to do this, and like a week later you're like, nah, we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
And what does Jackie say to you? She's like,
no, stick to what you said you were gonna do and finish that.
Right.
And then we'll start something else.
Right. And that's what a good partner can do is help you stay on track.
Yeah,
and that's what a coach can do.
Will just leave you confused at the end. Like, you should do something, follow it through, finish it, see what the result looks like. If it isn't what you want, pivot.
And then it leaves you. It's a snowball when you get into that, right? Because when you say you're going to do something and then you don't do it, you hate yourself a little bit more.
Yep.
And then it's a cycle because then you're like, damn. Now you don't trust yourself. Not only does she not trust me, I don't trust me.
Yeah. Our word in our company for 2025 is trust.
Boom.
It's trust. Our whole company. That's
the
word. Trust. Everything revolves around trust.
It's huge.
Trust us. We'll trust you. We'll trust you're giving your best. Trust you're making your best calls. Trust you're doing your follow-up with trust. It's just trust. I want trust everywhere in the company. Without trust, you're done.
Dude, that's huge. I mean, I think you see that even in, like, the macro environment of the world. It's like, what's everyone in the world right now after the election, all these things that happen? People don't trust other people. The media, people don't trust the media. People don't trust the government, right? Like, we're in this cycle right now where I feel like everyone's questioning people's motives.
Oh, facts. Their intentions.
Yeah. So, like, like that's gold. Like, if your intention is we're just going to be known that you can trust us,
Simple.
It's huge.
Something you did right. You say, man, I'm so glad I did that.
Yeah.
You know, what is something you did right that you're like, I would tell you if you ever get the opportunity to do this, take it.
Yeah. I think.
It could be in anything.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind in terms of doing something right is again changing your environment, doing something uncomfortable. Because by the way, that didn't come easy for me because I have a family where they all live within 60 seconds of each other.
Wow.
Right. And that's cool. Like that's nice, and they all help each other out, and that's awesome. I love them, but I've realized when I've been the most dangerous and when I've grown the most has been when I've been the furthest away from my house, from my childhood.
Yeah.
And so getting into an uncomfortable environment that's really quiet and just is going to be me with me and building with what I want to build, that's happened numerous times. You know, when I went to undergrad, I felt like I'm a new person, right, for the first time. And then when I went and worked, when I was in New York City, I felt like I was a new person in a new environment. And so I think being willing to pick up, being willing to recreate at any time makes you really dangerous. And I think that's the one thing that being fearless in taking those risks, that's something that I've done well, and that's an asset to me.
Yeah. Yeah, guys, in the Bible it says 365 times, do not fear. And, you know, I just think everything that we're doing right now, like this whole conversation, you know, in the Bible there was like Saul, who was the Christian killer, and he was the worst of the worst. And everybody probably would count him out. If anybody guessed who would take the Bible the furthest, nobody would guess Saul.
Yeah.
Like he's like last place. But he ended up being the one that took it the furthest.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if anyone's watching this, you know, I want you to know, like, Kevin's totally recreated his life, from being broke to, you know, being an entrepreneur, buying some rundown motels, turning them into really nice boutique hotels, selling them, making millions, packing up, moving across the country, tried Wall Street when he was young, got bad grades, got good grades, figured out he had to make good grades to pass, went ahead and, you know, did what he needed to do, put himself in a corner, you know, the ear pods on, you know, no, there was no music, just blocking out, going dark, learning. Everything can be beat. And, you know, everybody has a past, but also everybody has a really cool future, hope in a future. And
that's the thing is, like, if you feel like sometimes you get down, right? And I'm sure you've been through these moments, especially when you're starting your build, where it's like you get into these moments where you're like, man, God, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I was meant for this. I don't know if this is worth it. I don't, you know, maybe this vision isn't for me, you know, and it can manifest in your health. My health isn't good, or you go down to this road and you feel a little hopeless, a little helpless. And the biggest thing I want to say is, in those moments, the lowest of lows is where the real recreation begins.
That's right.
Because when you get through that, sometimes what I've found is when you get through that, you have to just go to, it's not about all these other things. It's about what you were just talking about. It's about God. It's about a higher power.
That's right.
Whether you believe in God or not, we're in a universe. There's a higher power. And when you get into those deep points, sometimes you just need to sit with yourself and ask for forgiveness and say, God, like, I have good intentions, and this is what I want to accomplish in my life, and I could just use a little bit of help, because, you know, I know you're powerful, and I know that we can do these things, and I know that you know, I'm trustworthy, that I have a good heart, and that we're doing good things. And so it's okay to just ask for help and to trust in a higher power. And man, God has we were just talking about before we jump on the podcast, God has a weird way of just putting things into you exactly when you need them.
Yeah, he knows what you need. And I think if anybody was going to give the greatest advice in the world, it would be to always keep a relationship with God. You know, no matter what, you know, eventually everyone's going to go to God, whether people believe this or not. I just want to tell you, people, you know, I was talking to this lady, she does hospice. And I was asking her, so what's it like? And she's like, everybody gives their life to Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, everyone there is dying. And when they know they're dying, they finally realize they want to give their life to Jesus. She's like, I just, most of them, the only thing they regret is they wish they just didn't do it earlier in life. Mm. They would have had more peace, more understanding. And, I was talking to a very, very, very influential guy, a mentor of mine the other day. And he gave me the greatest advice ever. And he said, and this is kind of the journey I'm on, and it woke me up. And I'm diving into God right now, in everything, in our business and everything. And I'm not a preacher. I'm a Christian, and I'm not perfect. I'm going to make mistakes. But he said something. He said, listen to me. He said, if you, when you're coming up, can humble yourself as you're rising, you're dangerous. Most people, they rise, and then they forget about God. And then they have to be humbled to go back to God. Mm-hmm. And he said, so if you, Andy, if you could do it right, it would be to humble yourself, and then God is going to fill the storehouse. He's going to take care of everything. He wants his kids to do great. But you got to stay humble. You got to give him the credit. You got to keep changing to be more Christ-like, being a better person. Don't get lost. Stay grounded in who you are and whose you are. And I was like, dude, that's great advice. So Jackie always says to me, she says, don't become ungrounded. Because sometimes, if you build a brand, people are going to start walking up to you all the time. Yesterday, we're in the Scottsdale quarters and probably had 200 times that I'm sitting there with my kids. Just people come up, man, you changed my life. You changed my life. You changed my life. You changed my life. And I'm just like, man, I love it. My daughter's like, Dad, like everybody knows you here. Yeah. And I said, babe, I said, God, when given the chance to make a decision, to make a choice, to become a better person, and you feel it, and you're like, dude, I want to be better. You know what, dude? I don't want to chase money anymore. God knows you need money. He's not dumb. Mm-hmm. He knows the birds need to eat. He knows all this stuff, right? Like, we're so stupid. Like, he needs you to change and become great and be a good example. Mm-hmm. And when you feel that urge, like you feel now, like boom, you just go into it. Yeah. You give it all you got. You make all the necessary changes, because he's getting ready to catapult you into something that's going to build his kingdom and is going to do something great. And you're thinking, yeah, but don't forget, I need to build my he's like, you're so dumb, dude. Mm-hmm. Just let me do this thing with you to become this example, so I can put you out in this place, and I've got plans that you can't see. You don't even know what I got stored. And by the way, you're trying to remind me of your plans. He's like, my plans are so big. You're so dumb, dude. Yeah. Just let me do my thing with you. Yeah. Okay.
He just wants you to surrender to him.
Yeah, you got to surrender.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy. So I would say to everyone, number one, everybody needs God. Number one. Number two, everybody needs a good coach in their life. Yeah. Because most people that you have in your life right now, the reason why you hadn't changed is because those people don't really care if you change or not. And so you want to find someone that you have push you to change. And if the closer you can get to them, the better. But as you do start to grow, eventually one day, all of us, you, me, Elle, we're all going to start to rise, and all this hard work and all this, work we've put in and all these things, we're going to start coming up. And when that happens, just remember, right? Either I stay humble on the way up, right? Be a psycho competitor, right? But be humbled on the way up. Or eventually God's going to have to humble you, so that he can remind you, hey, you prayed for that, and I bring you up, and then you forget about me. Well, I don't like that. Your wife loves you to death. No. But when you forget about her, is she happy?
Oh, no.
No. Life turns into hell pretty quick.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, the goal is that if you rise and you're growing and you're more loving to her, she'll support you the whole way up.
Yeah.
And I kind of think that's like him. Like, he's our bride. It says in the Bible, he's our bride. Like, as we're going up, he's like, hey, let's not become ungrounded. And so I think that's a really...
That's a great point, because I'll see this just in little things, tactics, just for living day to day, like things that are good for me. Like things that are good for me. I know you're into the cold plunging, right? Mm-hmm. I know cold plunging is great for me. It's great for just gets my focus and gets me going, gets my blood going. But then if I might go through a season, a week or two where I just forget about it. I just let it slip from the routine. And then after a couple weeks, I'd be like, man, I don't feel good. I don't feel myself. I'm like, oh, what's the thing that I used to do that made me feel good? Oh, I did a cold plunge every day. But it's just like that with God. We were just saying right now, it's just like sometimes we just take things for granted, and we feel you got people coming up to you, and you're doing growth, and you're doing these things, and you just forget that God was a part of what got you here and what was lifting you up. And so you just got to keep that. Like I saw you walking around the other day with John Maxwell's the Bible, the Leadership Bible, and it's like, because I know you've committed now. Like, I got to stay grounded. I gotta have this in my life every day, to the point where, hey, if I got to remind myself I just got to carry the Bible every day, then that's what I got to do.
Yeah. Well, listen, if we want to be great leaders, I mean, he invented leadership. God did. So we would definitely want to learn it from him, and it's in the Bible. The John Maxwell Leadership Bible helps me understand it better. You know.
Oh, which I think is great, because like I completely forgotten about my religion and completely left God out for a long time. I grew up in the church, and then I kind of just abandoned the practice for a long time until just recently.
Well, and by the way, I want you to remember this: the religion and the practice means nothing.
Yeah.
The relationship means everything.
Mm.
Okay, like that's big. That's big, because honestly, at the end of the day, I know a lot of people that know the practice, but their hearts aren't good. And honestly, like, they're not trying to help anybody. And I know you're on a journey, so just remember the relationship's key. So if somebody's watching this, like, honestly, I don't like a lot of religious people. I feel like they've looked down on me my whole life. I felt like, I'm not perfect, so they look at me and they're like, oh, this guy's got problems. And but behind closed doors, these people are the most wicked, darkest, most judgmental people I've ever seen. Yet here I am, giving everybody grace, believing everybody can become great, out here trying my hardest. I believe that's what Jesus wants. I mean, I'm just saying, like, I believe that is the true definition of being Christ-like, serving, being out there, giving somebody forgiveness, prostitute, tax collector, Saul, Christian killer. It doesn't matter. Dude, I'm telling you, like, sometimes people have to go through the craziest stuff and they become the best people. And, I want to end on one thing. And remember this. If you guys are watching this right now, super important. I know you guys all got one piece of something that will transform and change your life. Make sure you go follow Kevin Reardon right now. Facebook, follow him there. You definitely go follow him on Instagram. Okay? And we'll put his handle on here. Go follow him. Send him a DM and connect with him. He's awesome. I had this guy, and I was coaching him. And this is a good thing to finish, because you were talking about your cold plunges.
Yeah.
And so I thought I would just tell this message, and then we'll wrap it up. He wanted to have a great life. He wanted to build a new body, new finances. He wanted to learn new skills. He just wanted to go to the next level in life. He wanted to level up. And so we gave him this play to run, right? Like, this is the play. And it was honestly just like, okay, you do this, do this, do this. Like, when you wake up, this is what you do. And it kind of went like this, like, okay, you're going to wake up. When you wake up, now it sounds crazy, but you're going to brush your teeth, okay? Like, I mean, step by step. You're going to mouthwash, okay? That you're going to go out the door. You're going to get into the cold plunge. You're going to go 5 minutes, 48 degrees, 52 degrees. It doesn't need to be super cold. Just get in there, get in the cold plunge. You're going to get out. You're going to drink a bottle of water. You're not going to drink coffee first.
Yeah.
You're going to drink an 8-ounce bottle of water, and then you're going to be allowed to get a cup of coffee. Okay, you're going to rinse off in the shower real quick, but not too fast. You're going to let that body cool down naturally. Then you're going to take a hot shower real quick, get the cold plunge stuff off you, and you're going to get ready to head to the gym. Before you go to the gym, it doesn't matter in which order you do this, but I had to give them kind of an order.
Yep.
I said, I just want you to spend 2 or 3 minutes, right? And I want you to text 5 people, 3 people. Pick a number that you're grateful for. I don't need it, and I want you to start it like this. I don't need anything from you. I don't even need you to respond. I just wanted to tell you that I appreciate you because of this. And just show some gratitude, show some gratefulness. Let your heart give a gift to someone else for just a few minutes before the day starts. Thank God that you got to wake up, for your family, say a little prayer, get your gym bag, head out. This guy started to become so successful.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, this guy was rocking it.
That's a killer routine.
Month after month after month, he started killing it. And then calls me one day. I ain't hurting really, because here's how it works. When you're coaching somebody, you coach them, and then they start to catch on fire, and they're magnetic, and they're going crazy. And then I didn't hear from him no more. And I know what that means.
Yeah.
That means you're kicking butt.
Yeah.
But it went like 4 or 5 months went by, and I ain't heard of him. And then he called me, and he's like, dude, I've been in this biggest slump, dude. I didn't want to call you because I was embarrassed. And I'm like, okay. let's start with the plane.
Yeah.
Are you doing your cold plunge? When you wake up, are you brushing your teeth? And by the way, I know it sounds stupid, but are you using mouthwash? Are you going to get in the cold plunge? And we realized the sending the 3 texts a day in the beginning was so awesome. His heart was so full, telling people something. The fact that he could start out by changing someone's day in the morning, and the messages back like, oh my God, I needed this today. I was going through something really bad and no one knew it, and then you sent me this message and it changed my whole day. And in the beginning, he was so excited about all these things, and then he quit doing that, and he quit doing this, and he quit doing that. And then what we realized is that he quit doing what made him successful. And so I am a very firm believer in once you find a routine that works, you never, ever, 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 ever change it. You can make it better, but you can always go forward, but you can never go backwards.
Yeah.
And so
dude,
you realize that.
Dude, I've seen this in my own life. My own life. And that's where like the discipline comes in. And I think you just get more, it works, right? And then you get busy and people, more demands on your time. You're like, wow, this is crazy. And then you lose what got you there.
Yes.
And then you end up back at square zero.
And by the way, all the momentum that took him, a couple months to build, and then he was on fire. One day he woke up and he was like, oh, well, I don't need to do that no more because I am this thing. Don't ever think that, okay? I see people do this all the time. They lose companies, they lose relationships, they lose money, they lose everything. So the person that can self-correct is forever wealthy. If you can find the holes in your own game and see what the problem is. So build out a plan right now. What does your A to Z game look like? By the way, there are going to be days you're going to be traveling, you're going to be doing things that doesn't look like that. You can adapt and make things look that way. Like when I go on the road, and I'm just giving an example. I don't have a cold plunge. Okay, cool. Well, so let's say I'm traveling. I'll go out and I'll go to a hotel and I'll get into a cold pool. Like there's always a way. Sometimes, and I hate this, I'll take a cold shower for 4 minutes. That is the worst in the world. I'd rather be submerged in water. But I'll do it just because I know that I've committed to this thing, and over my dead body, am I going to break my streak? You know what I mean?
It's your identity. You can't break your identity.
Yeah.
It's become a part of it.
Yeah, and by the way, don't get so caught up in the ritual that if it can't go down, you're like, my life is ruined. I just mean when something's working and it's building your relationship, and if going on a date with your wife every week is good for your marriage, don't stop doing it. It's like that's what I mean.
By the way, that's a great relationship hack is schedule dates with your wife.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, we had to start doing that. It was like, hey, we got a schedule. We're going to go out to eat. We're going to do this. Just as a side, it's a huge one.
Yeah. And then, by the way, if you skip a week, hey, I get it. I understand. But don't skip 2 weeks, right? Like make it up. Do 2 the next week. And I learned that also if I miss one, and I'll tell my wife, I'm like, hey, babe, we're going on 2 this week because we missed one last week. Yeah. Even if she's like, well, I don't know if we can do that. Listen, it doesn't matter. That's like your wife saying, I don't want to go out for my birthday. You still take her out.
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Because I promise you take her out anyways, and it just shows that she's such a priority that that thing mattered that much that you made sure you got back on track. Because she'll see you get back on track in the gym. She'll see you get back on track at work. But sometimes you don't always get back on track in your marriage. So it shows that it's a lower priority. Everybody's always watching. You know what I'm saying? And so I learned that everything that I do, number one, that could be, Kevin, you doing that could be an example to your wife, but also could be an example to your team.
Yeah.
To how much you value your relationship. And then internally, you're doing the right thing. So that gives you more confidence in your everyday. So, guys, right now, make sure you go follow Kevin Reardon. Shoot him a DM. What was your favorite thing that you liked about this podcast? Drop it below. If there was one thing, just one thing that you heard over the last, 50 minutes, and, it means something to you. You can see that it would be a thing that changed, your life. Make a decision right now. Just that simple. Man, I'm going to change this one thing in my life. I guarantee. It could be the difference between breaking your bloodline, ending up here down the road, or ending up here. You know what I'm saying? And it's happened to me, and it's happened to him, and now it's going to happen to you. So, Kevin, love you, bro. Seriously. Kevin's been with me on a couple podcasts. He's amazing, and he does coaching and does a lot of cool stuff. So you guys can reach out to Kevin directly. If you want to work with him, just start a conversation with him, hit him up. Guys, so on Instagram, Kevin Reardon, you can send him a DM. And by the way, have the best day of your life. Kill it. And I know that something was said that can help change your life. Love you guys. See you in the next video. Hey guys, looks like you made it to the end of the video. You're the true .000
one percenters. Look, I know one percenters that can make it halfway through the video, but making it all the way through, you guys are the best. Now, here's what I'd like to do. Number one, I want to get closer to you. The fact that you made it all the way through the video, you're like, man, dude, I want to roll with this guy. Okay, so I need to connect with you. Down below, there's a description box on this YouTube video. There's a link. It says Coach with Me one-on-one, okay? If you'll go and you'll enter your information, I'll reach out to you in the next 24 hours. You can tell me what you need help with, what your goals are, and we will crush it together. I would love to help you guys go to the next level in life. You can tell I'm changing my life really fast, and I know that you guys want the same thing. I'd love to go with you on that journey. So right now, if you'd like to partner with me, team with me, if you want me to help coach you and push you, everybody needs a coach, a higher level of accountability to go to the next level. Go to the description box below, click on the link, fill out your information. I'll talk to you in the next 24 hours. Let's kill it.